Hello, welcome to DNQ Football for potentially the biggest game of this tournament so far. Very excited for this one. 25 minutes away from kickoff now in Malaysia versus Singapore. 2 votes at the minute in the poll. It's still early days, but everyone so far, both people backing that Malaysia win. If you are watching along, don't forget to put your vote in, who you think is going to win, and put your score predictions in the chat as well. Probably have some returning viewers, if we have new viewers as well. Welcome to the channel. I'm going to be doing a watch along today. If you've come here and you're in the wrong place and you're looking for the actual game, it is the pinned comment as well. So you'll be able to find the game. That is, of course, if you're outside of the region. Massive game. I believe we might have just dropped out there for a second. But I believe we've now reconnected. Apologies if we did drop out there. Yeah, looks like the connection's okay now. I think that was a switch between Wi-Fi and my LAN cable. Perfect, I'm back now. I did get a notification that I dropped out. It might have just been the switch between the two. But thank you, Ryan, in the chat. Get your votes in, who you think is going to win this one. Every 10 likes, there's goal lights. I think I've sorted the goal lights out now. You can have a sort of sample. I think they're not too aggressive. That's better, isn't it? Before they've been a bit too aggressive and in your face. So don't forget to like this video to see the goal lights as they happen. And of course, we're hoping for lots of goals today during the game. Bit of background to this one then, as we approach 20 minutes to kick-off. This is, of course, the Causeway Derby. First time in the AFF for 8 years, last time in 2014. But the sides have faced each other 3 times since then. 1 draw and 2 wins for Singapore. The slight, I don't know, are they underdogs? I don't know, teams similar ranked. I think a lot of people expecting Malaysia with the home advantage to win this one, particularly with the injuries to Singapore. But I've looked at the lineups, not too much in the favour of Malaysia, I wouldn't say. Singapore have won the last 2 games 2-1 and 1-0. A draw would be enough, don't forget, for Singapore to get through after their draw with Vietnam. They are currently 2nd in the group stages. Unlikely that this one will come down to goal difference at all, because, well, we all expect Vietnam to win, don't we, and beat Myanmar, no disrespect intended to them. And that will mean that really it just comes down to points for 2nd place. No one's going to overtake Vietnam today. It would be very unlikely for anyone to overtake Vietnam today. So top spot potentially not up for grabs. So it's about who's going to potentially face Thailand between these 2 sides. A draw would be enough for Singapore, which suits their style of play, you'd have to say. More counter-attacking. But Malaysia's side looking good for this one. Let's run through the lineups then. For Malaysia, you have Hamzi, Cheng, Sharul, Tan and Ruven Tiram as the back 4. Of course, Adam not available for this one after that dubious red card and penalty decision against Vietnam. A midfield 5 of Wilkin, Gan, Safawi does start. Makari and Faisal Halim, who I must admit impressed me last time I watched Malaysia despite their defeat. And Darren Lock up front, so a place on the bench for Lee Tuck in this one. I'm sure he will come on. But it's good to see Safawi starting this game. He is a player with a lot of quality, as we know. Hasn't really been able to bring it too much this tournament. But there is every chance that he can in this game. It's looking like it will be that 4-2-3-1 formation for the home side. Up against Singapore, Hassan Sunny in goal. It looks like a back 3/back 5 tends to be what they play, with Shakir Hamza, Irfan Fandi and Haris Harun as the back 3. That is a very solid back 3. It looks like the 5 in front of that, if you sort of go with the wing-back scenario and class them as wide midfielders, are Van Huizen probably on the right, and midfield 3 of Song, Shardan and Anu Kumar, and Shah at left midfield, and then a front 2 suiting their counter-attacking play of Hafiz Noor and Amy Reka. I like Amy Reka as a player, but you do have to admit that This Singapore side isn't as strong as perhaps they'd like. Again, no disrespect to the players who are out there, but they're obviously missing a few by way of Fandies, Gabriel Kwok and the like. Malaysia still looking strong despite being without those JDT players who haven't been released. Huge game though, this one. Obviously it's a derby game. All of the sides from this region, from the ASEAN region, but this is a particular derby, the Causeway Derby. It will be interesting to see how Singapore play. I do think that they will try their best to really take the life out of this game and absorb the high press of Malaysia and try and hit on the counter-attack, using that front two as much as they can. I think Malaysia will have the majority of the possession. Indeed, I'm just looking at the comments. What's the situation with viewing the match online and the restrictions for certain regions? There are, so you can watch the game. We've linked it at the top of the chat. It's the pinned comment, just above / below the poll, depending on how you're looking at it. But you won't be able to view that in certain regions, but I will be able to. So that is what I am watching on. Obviously, we recommend that you watch along with us. And don't forget to get your votes in on the poll. Who do you think is going to win this one? At the minute, we've had 3 votes and everyone backing a Malaysia win. Oh, listening to the commentary, looks like they're trying to calculate who can go up and who can go down, but they've clearly not been listening to DNQ, because that's where it's spelled out for you. In the fact that realistically, now let's not talk if, buts and maybes, let's talk realistically, Vietnam are going to top this group. So this is the battle for second. Goal difference won't come into it. A draw will be enough for Singapore. Obviously a Singapore win will be enough, but Malaysia have to win. 4 votes currently, everyone backing that Malaysia win. I'd say if you looked at the lineups, let's talk about absolutes. Only a Sith deals in absolutes, but that is what we are doing today. I believe that we don't need to talk about Vietnam. If someone could keep me up to date with the score line in that other game, that would be great. But anything other than a comfy 2-3, 4-0, and you'd have to say that Vietnam huge favourites for that one. So this game is where we're focusing all of our attention. Looks like, is this one at the Baku Jalil? It looks like it might be. Pretty packed out actually, a few empty seats, but it's got massive sort of attendance. Capacity is the word I was looking for. It's got massive capacity in this ground, so it would be amazing if they do fill it. We've had a few more votes come in, which is good to see. A few more people maybe now backing the draw, backing Singapore. Don't forget, if you're backing the draw, you're backing Singapore to go through and face Thailand in the semi-finals. I do not like these Malaysia kits. I'm just looking at the pictures of the crowd. I just don't like it. 1-2 and 2-1. I think it would be, I think a lot, and you can say this about pretty much every game, right? I get that. A lot depends on that first goal. I think if Malaysia score in the first 20 minutes, that will change how this game goes, because Singapore will have to attack. I think the current setup, the longer the game stays at 0-0, the more you'd fancy Singapore to even win the game, not just qualify. I get that. Hello, Ilias. Hello, Wandindo and Ryan in the chat. Good to have you here. Don't forget to like this video, get your votes in on the poll, who you think is going to win. We've had a few more for Singapore, but still the majority of people backing that Malaysia win. With 15 minutes to go until kickoff, we'll be here throughout the match and shortly after as well to let you know how that all plays out and effectively who is going to play Thailand in the semi-finals. Unless there's a shock result in the other game. Myanmar can't go through, but they can allow both of these teams to go through, I suppose. If Myanmar were to win like 10-0, it's not that much. If Myanmar were to win 8-0 and Malaysia were to win this game 1-0, then Malaysia and Singapore would go through, but that's just not going to happen. Diego says Malaysia to win in my books. I have to say I'm probably slightly backing that as well. I'm not sure. I could be surprised. I could be surprised by Singapore, but I just think injuries and they've not impressed me that much, essentially. It was the game against Laos, I think it was, which they ended up winning, but they didn't look very strong. And Malaysia, despite losing against Vietnam, I thought they looked quite good. Diego backing the 1-0, Ryan backing the 2-0, and Wong Indo backing the 2-1. Ilias, what are your score predictions for this one? Hello to everyone else watching. Don't forget to get your votes in. Don't forget to pop your score predictions down too. The comments are open to everyone, so you can pop your predictions in for this game. 3-1 Malaysia. My predictions for this one, it's tough to say. I don't know, part of me, I don't know, actually. I am going to go with the Malaysia win, I think. I've looked at the lineup, and I've got to say, and I think, if you look at the bench as well, I just think Malaysia's squad is slightly stronger, and I think that they are a side that can break down this Singapore team. I think that the back three are going to be so important for Singapore, particularly Harris and Irfan, trying to deal, and even Shah on the left midfield, trying to deal actually with Safawi. I'm thinking about some Safawi magic for this one. And I'm going to go with I'm actually going to go with a 2-0, I think. But I do think that it will be a Malaysia win. But we've had a fair few people backing the away win, or indeed the draw, on the poll. Just again, a reminder of those lineups with just over 10 minutes to go till kickoff. Hamzi Cheng, Shahrul Tan, Ruven Tiram, Wilkin, Gan, Safawi, Makari, Faisal Halim and Locke for Malaysia. Hassan, Shakir Hamza, Irfan Fandi, Harris, Van Huizen, Song, Shardan, Anu Kumar, Shah, Hafiz Noor and Amy Rekha for the away side for Singapore. We saw yesterday Thailand topping the group after their win over Cambodia. A very entertaining game. And Indonesia coming second after their win over the Philippines. Stefan Schrock's last game for the Philippines. What a player he has been for the ASEAN region. I believe he will still have involvement in the Philippines national side going forward. But what an international career for him. I remember a long time ago playing FIFA, maybe 2013, 2014, on Ultimate Team. And there was that one player, I'm pretty sure he was, him and Neil Etheridge, I think, were the only players from the Philippines on FIFA. It's interesting to see how the team has had highs and lows throughout his international career, but he has been a mainstay. What a player. Oh, thank you very much for that update. Was at the Philippines game last night, Diego. How fantastic. And Schrock will continue coaching the youth team. Well, hopefully that sort of pays dividends across the next few years for the Philippines as we start to see some more players come through of a little bit, not higher quality, maybe a little bit. I think they're stuttering, aren't they, a tad? But what a career he's had. As I've said many times, fantastic to see players like Brendan Gan back in the setup for Malaysia. It's a real shame for me that there's been those injuries to Singapore, particularly to Iksan Fandi. I think that the couple of players they lost were really key players for them, certainly in an attacking sense. And I think that that's probably just played into why they've not been as attacking, why they've been a little bit more counter-attacking in their setup and not controlling the ball as much, and they've not looked generally as strong. Still defensively solid though, with Irfan and Harris and Shakir Hamza providing that back three / back five with the wing backs. But I still think, despite the fact that those JDT players aren't here for Malaysia, they are still a pretty strong side. It'll be interesting to see what Darren Locke can do in this game. Again, playing that centre forward position, but it's a good back three behind him. Faisal Halim played well against Vietnam, I thought. Makari and, of course, Safawi as well. I'm sure that players like Sergio Aguero and Lee Tuck will come on for Malaysia later into the game. Just under 10 minutes to go till kickoff. We'll be with you pretty much up until, and then step away for a second and then cut back for kickoff. Must say I do like this Singapore kit. Very clean. The clean blue. If you are watching with us, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to DNQ. Does us a world of good if you do. And don't forget to get your votes in on the poll and indeed your score predictions in the chat as well. Looks like a great atmosphere here in Malaysia. Huge crowds, fans on the drums as well. Going to try and make this hostile for the travelling Singapore side here in this game. I think the overall quality of refereeing has actually been pretty decent in this tournament as we see the refs come out in this game. They've been pretty good. A few interesting decisions. We've needed clarification from the chat on a few, but they've helped us out with those. Particularly that Malaysia-Vietnam decision, which seemed odd at the time. A few more people in the votes. 2 more votes have come in. They've both come in the way of Singapore. So a real split decision at the minute for this one, because don't forget, if people are voting for a draw, they're voting for Singapore to go through. So it's currently 42% Singapore, 5% draw, and 53% in the favour of Malaysia. So real split decision on this one, as we see the players in the tunnel getting ready for this huge game. I wonder if how much of an impact the crowd will make to this one. As I've said before, Singapore coming out on top the last 2 times these sides have faced each other. And that's been with stronger sides for both, actually. I think both will struggle when we get to the semi-final stage. You will see previews for both of those semi-finals on DNQ. We won't be doing live watch-alongs for those ones, but we will be doing previews that will go live just before, well, the day before the game or just before the game, depending on which semi-final it is. But we will try our best to do watch-alongs for the double-legged final. So make sure that you like this video, vote in the poll and subscribe, and I'll say it many more times throughout the game. Wow, the atmosphere is bouncing in this one. If you want to watch what I'm watching, then don't forget to click the link that's pinned. That will take you to a different YouTube video, but then you side-by-side it. I do love these commentators so much, so I know it's tempting to listen to them instead of me. But all that we ask is that you stick with us here. Of course, this will partly come down to fitness as well between the 2 sides. Malaysia have had that break, haven't they? Singapore have not had that chance. Their last game, that fierce game with Vietnam, which everyone I think was expecting was going to be a Vietnam win. Vietnam both did and didn't get the job done. Pretty much securing qualification with that draw, but a win would have guaranteed it. No if, buts or maybes. There is still the very unlikely possibility that Vietnam go out, but they won't in truth. They will most likely play Indonesia in the semi-finals, which should be a great game. Great games. Double-legger, of course. But a huge chance here for Singapore to get through and face Thailand. I mean, a win would be phenomenal in this game for Singapore, to be honest. They'll probably play for the draw, as we've said. It's all about Malaysia and whether or not they can break them down. But don't forget, it's the home side that have to do the hard work here. They have to get the win. I do think that the central midfield duo of Brendan Gan and Stuart Wilkin will be important for Malaysia in this game. I've said tactically that you know, the setup for Malaysia is 4-2-3-1, but what we've seen in previous games is actually the fullbacks push forward, and one of those defensive midfielders, normally Brendan Gan, drops in to make a bit more of a back 3, using his pace and fitness levels to drop in, make it a 3, as we hear the national anthem of Singapore. And then that allows the fullbacks to push forward, but it'll be interesting to see if they risk that in this game, predicting the counter-attack from Singapore, or if they just try and control the midfield area a little bit better. There are 3 in there for both sides. Had 22 votes in the poll, slightly favouring Malaysia at the moment. Do say hi in the chat if you're watching along. To be fair, 4 minutes to go till kickoff. I have a full mug of coffee, almost, and a full glass of water, so I won't do what I normally do and duck away just before kickoff. I will remain here. And hello to Ahmed in the chat as well. Good to have you with us. What are your score predictions for this game? And don't forget to vote in the poll as we move on to the national anthem of the home side. Just want to listen to that. crowd in good voice. Got to say, the stadium's looking fantastic. It's not quite full. Looks like there's actually quite a lot of empty seats, but one section of the ground is completely full. Still good attendance there, but not quite full. As I've said before, they're massive stadium. And Ahmed backing the 3-1 Malaysia win. If you're watching along, why don't you put your predictions in for this as well? We're currently 60% Malaysia, 62% Malaysia, and everyone else backing Singapore to go through, but only 35% backing the Singapore win. Will be a tough game. Who do we think is going to be the standout player in this one? We've got 7 likes on the video. Don't forget, when we get to 10, you get goal lights and celebrations. If we somehow manage to hit 20, then the robot will come out in full force. The Malaysia national anthem concludes, and we get ready for kickoff here. We're just a couple of minutes away. I mean, I'm listening to the commentary. They're not saying anything I haven't said already. You know you're in good hands here on DNQ Football. Thank you to everyone who has supported the channel throughout this tournament so far, has watched along and listened to me do my best to do this tournament justice. This is probably the biggest game so far. The crowd in extremely good voice. The flags are flying. Don't forget, if you don't already, to check us out on socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and TikTok as well. Not done too much on there throughout 2022, but we will step up our game in 2023, and no surprises, Hardy has joined us. Let's go Singapore, he says. We have a Singapore fan in our midst in the chat. Best of luck to both sides for this one. Sergio Aguero. Will there be a Sergio Aguero moment in this game? Will he come off the bench and cause drama? Nothing less than a win will be enough for Malaysia in this game. Come on, we need more Singapore fans in the chat. Hardy's probably just scrolled up and seen everyone backing that Malaysia win. We need more people backing Singapore, the away side. I do think that Singapore will probably, and I could be wrong, be happy conceding possession a little bit in this one and trying to hit on the counter-attack. We need a lot from players such as Amy Recker going forward. They've not been great, have they, so far? And Hardy would be the first to say that. I know they've not been great so far this tournament, but they've done enough to put themselves in a good position. Ilhan Fandi is on the bench. But no Ilhan or Iksan starting in this game. Singapore is favourite. There are more Singapore fans in the chat. We're getting there. Kickoff just a moment away. And there'll be a moment of silence before this game for Pele. I will observe that as well. And here we are, we're getting ready, the game just about to kick off. Saudi Arabian referee, we've seen a lot of referees from the Middle East, and as I said before, I think they've done a pretty decent job, although Malaysia fans will probably disagree with me given the decision, the seemingly odd decision that was made in the Vietnam match. Be interesting to see if the lineups, as they were sort of said on Google and as they were said on the picture here before this game, if they were right, if the lineup's going to be what we thought it would be with the sort of 5-3-2 system, or if Singapore will set up even more defensively than that, and what will be made of Brendan Gan potentially dropping in to form that back three as Malaysia push forward. But they do set up with the 4. Be interesting to see how it changes throughout this game. It will be Malaysia that will get us underway. And they are kicking from left to right for our angle. And here on DNQ, I will talk you through the action as it happens, and the game is underway. And I've already made a great start to the screen by remembering to click the start button on our scorecard. Don't sleep on that scorecard, by the way. We've tried to level up our game here on DNQ, and the scorecard a big part of that. Immediately, Malaysia starting with possession, and Brendan Gan does drop in, forming that bit of a 3, allowing the fullbacks to go further forward. And straight away, Malaysia on the attack, Safawi just miscontrolling, and Singapore clear. Ball into the box. It looks, oh, there was an early chance there even. It was Darren Lock pushing forward, and he almost got on the end of that. It was just a bit of a nothing cross into the box. Takes a deflection. Oh, yeah, squirm in the box. I think Darren Lock there is claiming that that is a corner. And I think he has a case. I believe that a goal kick was in fact given though. Be interesting to see if Singapore play this long or go short. We're just a minute in. Already we've had a chance. Oh, I believe a handball was given actually, or something like that. Anyway, it's a free kick to Singapore. It's just crediting the referees. Seemed like a strange decision there. And Singapore do go long from the kickoff. It's not a bad ball actually. It's got a lot of power on that. It's in behind the back line, but is intelligently kicked off of the Singapore forward, and is a goal kick to Malaysia. And they play out. They play short. See, that's what I'm talking about. I think that Malaysia will really get the ball down and try and play football, and Singapore quite comfy, letting Malaysia get all the way up to the halfway line uncontested. As they switch the ball forward. It's interesting with that 4-2-3-1. It is a 3 behind Darren Lock in central as Fazal is on the ball, and that time he does win the corner. Early corner to Malaysia. Got to say, Singapore, interestingly, it's a 5 at the back, but the fullbacks for Malaysia are so high, and with Faisal, Halim and Safawi both tucking in slightly, they are forming kind of 2v1s against the wing-backs, which is going to be problematic for Singapore to deal with. As Malaysia get ready to whip this ball in. Currently looking for options. I'm not sure who's the bigger side here. I'd probably say Singapore just edge it, particularly when they've got players like Iksan playing. Obviously he isn't today. But they are a slightly bigger side, probably. And Malaysia do indeed go short and then whip the ball in from a slightly different angle. Still problems being caused. Cleared away. So Malaysia having the most of it. Malaysia again pushing down the wing. We have another Malaysia fan in the chat. I hope to pronounce this right. Kazan plays. Backing Malaysia in this one. Good to have you with us. Do come and say hi. If you are watching along, don't forget to get your vote in. Who you think's going to win this one? With 60% in the favour of Malaysia, and they've certainly started brighter. As Darren Lock keeps that ball in play, does he? Yes, he does, but that's well dealt with by Ilhan Fandi. He gets the ball back, and again they go direct there. As I've said, happy to concede possession here, Singapore. And the ball is back with Malaysia. I believe they have a free kick just in their own half. A foul by Amy Reka. Yes, indeed it is on Brendan Gan. Don't mind that from Amy Reka though, putting himself about there. Again, Malaysia sweep the ball forward. It's far too easy for them to get the ball out wide at the minute. They've got far too many crosses in the early stages of this game already. That is proving a problem area for Singapore. Ruven playing well down that side. He's got a number of deliveries in, and now it's another chance for Malaysia with a free kick. We're only 4.5 minutes into this game, and already Malaysia certainly looking up for it. They know what they've got to do. They know the task at hand. They have to win this game. Hafiz Noor has struggled a little bit. Looks like he's playing more of a right wing-back position. Ruven Tiram and Safawi are over this one. I think it would suit Ruven Tiram more. Interesting to see. Yes, it is swung towards the goal, but that's far too easy for the Singapore goalkeeper. Sonny collects. Interesting again to see if he goes direct, and he does. So as I've said before this game, you know, really counter-attacking, happy to just concede possession as much as they want and feed off the second balls, which is exactly what Singapore have done here, and they've got a chance to whip this into the box. They do. It's a good delivery, and the keeper for Malaysia comes flying out. They have to make sure they're not caught out on the counter-attack themselves here, Singapore. That's good play. There's Makairi playing that ball forward. It was him that delivered that free kick earlier. Apologies for saying Ruven Tiram. It was Makairi. And the ball now all the way back with Sonny. It's a good front three behind Locke. Be interesting to see if he gets any clear-cut chances or if he plays more of the role of provider. It's a poor kick from the Singapore keeper. If they're going to play direct, they need to beat the first man. Here's Makairi. Oh, looking to squirm that through to Faisal Halim, but it's just a poor ball there. They had a scenario there with a bit of a 3-on-3. Should have done a bit more. And it all came from that poor kick from the keeper. Already you can see the pace from Makairi. I think that Faisal might have been just offside there if they'd have even got that ball through. They didn't quite manage it. And how many times has the Singapore keeper been asked to kick long already in this game? You can see the high press from Malaysia, but that time Brendan Gan, fouling his man. Yeah, it is a foul. To be fair, it's a foul. If you are watching along, don't forget to say hi in the chat. Just heard that Vietnam have taken the lead in the other game, so that just kind of echoes what I was saying earlier. It's not really a game we need to think about, worry about too much in the context of who's going to get through in this one. This really is just a shootout. It's like a quarter-final, effectively, this game, except it's single-legged. And the fact that if it's a draw, Singapore go through. Had a few more people backing the draw as well on the poll. Don't forget to get your votes in on that one. Similarly, as I've said earlier, Malaysia just orchestrating, and that's a great ball over the top. In fact, it's a stunning ball over the top. It's still alive. Oh! Good keeping in the end. Safawi received, given far too much time there to weave inside, and played one of those classic Safawi balls over the top to the run of Faisal, who literally splits the defence. His first touch is just a bit loose. It's good keeping from Sonny on the first and second occasions. They could have done slightly more then, Ruven Tiram, on the follow-up attempt. Could have done just a little bit more. Just plays it straight at the keeper. But that was the first real clear-cut chance for Malaysia. Just looking at the movement perhaps of Locke there. Could he have done a bit more? Because Ruven Tiram didn't have any other option than to go for the shot. I just wonder if he could have done a little bit more there to go for that one. Ball back with Ruven Tiram as he's pushing down the left-hand side and whips that into the box. It goes all the way across. And that ball's back into the box. I tell you what, Malaysia are looking sharp in the early stages. But they just give the ball away, and immediately, as you see what Singapore are trying to do, they just clip the ball over the top, playing very direct in this game. I wonder what the possession has been. Safawi recede on the ball again. Loops it over the top. Lock looked like he was offside. He was. He skied it anyway. It would have been, I'm sure, a goal had he been onside there. But again, they're allowing just a little bit too much time, Singapore, for a player of Safawi's quality. And he is just offside, I'd say. Singapore play it short. You can see immediately the high press from Malaysia, and they wing it back again. Got to say, it's been not a great start to this game for Singapore. Just look a little bit tactically confused. Can they do a bit better this time? Yes, they can. It's well cut out though, and they've got to throw in the Malaysia half. Can they actually have some sustained possession, or maybe form an attack here, Singapore? Singapore clip that ball in. They still have possession here. In fact, they've got a corner out of nothing, really. Bit of a random block. Safawi it was. Ball just goes out of play. And this is a chance, you'd say, for Singapore if they get the centre halves further up the pitch. They are, as I've said before, probably a slightly bigger side. There's not a lot in it. But if they get the delivery right, they will have half a chance here. Just 10 minutes into this game. And if Singapore go 1-0 up, you'd have to say they're huge favourite. Oh, they play it short. I wouldn't have done that. I'd have whipped it in direct. They do get a second chance, though, and that's a better ball, and it's a chance at the back post. Oh, it's an awful header. Oh, and it was Fandi as well. He's got to score there. He's got to score! Oh, he heads it back across. You've got to go for goal there, man. He's trying to head it back across. It was Van Huizen with the ball in, and it was a really good delivery, actually. And Irfan Fandi, he'll look back at that knowing he should have scored there. And if Singapore had have gone 1-0 up, it would have been a huge, huge challenge for Malaysia. It wouldn't have changed the way that either side played. But, of course, as I've said already, a draw enough for Singapore to get through here. It does look like far more of a back three when Malaysia are in possession. They clip that one over the top, whip it into the box, and it's a 2v1. It's 2v1s all the time against the wing backs with the fullbacks and wide players of Malaysia. So really, they've got a little bit of a system advantage here with the way that they're playing. That's the risk if you go with the back five and you get doubled up fullback to winger. There's not a lot of support that you can give them. And it's because Wilkin has dropped into the back line when he needs to, and Gan, as I said before, they like to do that. It's quite a good system, actually, you've got to say. Here's Safawi, the captain for this game, pushing forward. Just manages to keep the ball, does he? Yes, he's fouled on that occasion. And it's a free kick to Malaysia. You'd say that this is probably where, foul by Anu, he's a big fella. This is the area where you'd say Safawi will probably try and deliver a ball in himself here. He's fouled. I mean, it's a bit of a foul. It's more just continuous nibbles at the ankles there. I'd say this is where Safawi should try and whip the ball in himself. One of those ones where the ball may even go on target. Yes, it is Safawi who's going to take this. He's going to probably just try and whip this towards the back post. This is going to, hopefully, for Safawi, bounce roughly in line with the penalty spot. And players will just be rushing to make contact. Oh, actually, they might have to go slightly different here because of the high press. No, there it is, and it does bounce on the penalty spot. And it was Brendan Gown with the header. He was offside. It was a high line, well worked. Brendan Gown with the header, that time saved. You'll be on TalkSport soon with these sort of comms. Well, I try my best. Thank you, everyone watching. There's not too much going on in the chat. I have to just commentate on the game, and I'm quite happy to. An entertaining game so far, despite the fact that it is indeed 0-0. Sonny with the free kick following the offside. Here's a little bit of pressure on the Malaysia centre half, but he manages to clear. Singapore not quite yet being able to get any real consistent possession. Malaysia this time, they go direct. First question's asked aerially of Fandi. No surprises that he deals with that well and heads back to the keeper. As good as Lock can be. He's never going to win an aerial duel against someone like Fandi. And that, I think, is one of the huge pros that Singapore actually have when they need to play direct normally with Fandi up front. Iksan Fandi, that is. Or Ilhan, of course. They do have some height there. Some physicality, which a lot of sides in this region don't have in quite the same way. Brendan Gann with a miscontrol, but he does get back to the ball. And that's well worked. That's beautiful football. They get the ball out wide right. I'm not quite sure he's going to make it. Yes, he will. It's good play. And it is a corner to Malaysia. Good interplay then from them. Brendan Gann it was with a slight miscontrol. But good play between fullback and central midfielder, and they managed to somehow get a corner out of it. Well defended, you'd have to say, but it is a corner, and this is a corner out on the right-hand side, so it can be that Safawi Rashid in-swinger. We know that he has the technique to deliver. We've seen him from set pieces, from free kicks, really whip the ball in. There's going to be a slight pause here as the referee just says to all the players, no tussling. And Safawi steps over it, does deliver. He goes direct this time and it's headed goalward. And it was Faisal Halim. It was a good ball into the near post and Faisal Halim with the flick on. And it just goes over the bar. I think the keeper would have probably had it covered anyway. It was the centre of the goal. But it's a good effort. Malaysia continuing their good start in this game. It's a really good header actually. It's just unlucky. But that's what Safawi can do with balls like that. Just forces. Oh, that's good. That's good play from Gann. He wins the ball very high up the pitch. And here's Faisal Halim. Will he go himself? Yes, he will. And it's saved. And it doesn't quite fall to lock on the rebound. But again, Singapore giving the ball away in their own half. Brendan Gann that time he did really well. Kind of that balance between pressing but not fouling. Thank you very much for that score update in the other game. It is indeed Vietnam 1-0. Malaysia definitely on top. It is a good game. It has been a good game so far. Not too many clear-cut chances, but Malaysia definitely on top. And you think they're getting closer and closer to a goal. That's why I do love this region. The aggression, the sheer tenacity from both sides. Very entertaining games that we've seen throughout this tournament. Maybe less goals than we've seen in some tournaments go by. Thank you very much for the score update. I did see the comment before, and I appreciate the translation. Faisal Halim did have a chance here. We're just watching it back. Cuts inside the defender. Could have maybe chosen the pass, but it's a good save. And so far, the best player for Singapore, their goalkeeper. I believe he got... Did he get man of the match in their game against Laos as well? I think he might have. Certainly a decent keeper. Ball back with Malaysia in their own half. We are 1 like on the video away from goal lights. We do goal lights every 10 likes. Just to make it a tongue twister. Don't forget to get your votes in on the poll as well. It's an interesting, it's a high line from Singapore and that line's just been beaten there. And Makari could have done a little bit better with the control. They're going for a high line back 5, which I must say is an interesting dynamic. It could work. But it seems strange. Makari was onside there because the back 5 wasn't quite in line. And any time you go with the high line, you really need all the players in that line to get it right. And if you're playing with the back 5, that's just one more player that can potentially get it wrong. So it's interesting from Singapore to go with the back 5, as we've seen before, but to try and go with a high line. We'll see how it works out. I wouldn't have necessarily gone with that, and I'm not sure that quite works. But we'll see, I could be wrong. As Singapore are wasteful on the ball. I think that was Amy Recker, just wasteful that time. That ball's played through. Another bit of good defending from Fandi. But again, Singapore can't get the ball out of their own third. And they've given the ball away again here, and Makari does manage to get that ball through to Faisal Halim, who's appealing for the handball. And Locke comes in with the challenge, and it's a throw to Singapore right down in their own corner flag position. And Harris is just appealing for calm further up the pitch. That back line of Singapore's had to do a lot so far in this game. And I think it's interesting they're playing the high line because you fancy them in a 1v1. They're good defenders. But they're not the quickest. So if there is a break to that back line, I'm talking particularly someone like Fandy is a brilliant defender, very good aerially. But if the ball goes over the top and he's in a pace race against someone like Safawi or Faisal, he is going to lose out. Bit of high press coming from Singapore as Malaysia play the ball round their own third. And that's the risk they run. See, there's the direct ball in behind. The Singapore player goes down. And Safawi could be in trouble here. We are at 10 likes on the video, which means we get some goal lights on. Thank you very much for that 10th like. We keep moving. There's nothing in that for me. Safawi shouldn't be penalised for that. Nah, no, that's not. Oh, actually, that left arm does come across. You might be right there, Hardy. I didn't see it from the other angle, but you might be right. Referee, I think, is just going to tell him to calm down. But I think I was looking at the right arm that was coming across, and I thought that was a 50-50 tussle. We'll do the robot when we get to 20 likes. But actually, the left arm does come across. Unnecessary, that from Safawi. I think he's got away with one there, that's not been looked at by the linesman. I think it was the referee that gave it. Didn't think the linesman gave anything at all. In a world of VAR, that could have been. I think a red would have been harsh, and Hardy said that's a yellow, and I probably agree with that. It's overly forceful, but not necessarily violent conduct. So probably a yellow card, but he does get away with it. Didn't need to do it, to be honest. It was always going to go through to Fandy. Singapore, first chance they've really had to get an attack together. Good bit of possession, but they're wasteful in that, and the ball goes through to Hamza in the Malaysia goal. If we're lucky enough to get to 20 likes, then the robot will come out with the goal lights. Interestingly, Malaysia quite happy playing direct as well. I think they've noted that high line and they're preparing themselves to play a little bit more direct, but I think that plays into Singapore's hands. So maybe I was wrong when I said that the high line was a strange setup. Singapore playing a dangerous game in their own half though, on the ball. Here's Anu again. You don't want to receive the ball there as a centre-back as you're being closed down. Miscontrol from the Malaysia defender, and it's a Singapore throw. "22 minutes into this one, it's still 0-0. I think I said before the game that if Malaysia scored in the first 20 minutes or so, then this would be a different tie, and I stand by that. I still think they've probably had the. I'm not sure who's had the best chance, because from my perspective, it would arguably be the Singapore header from the corner that was one of the best chances. But on the balance of play, Malaysia definitely been on top. But the longer it stays 0-0, you've got to fancy the away side to go through. Don't forget, if Singapore are 1-0 up, they're sort of basically 2-0 up, because they can still afford to concede and go through. It's a long-range effort here from Wilkin. That one comfortably wide. Didn't really need to do that there. Bit of a snapshot from Wilkin. If you are watching along, don't forget to vote for who you think is going to win. We've had 84 votes so far, which is fantastic to see. Most people backing a home win. As I've said before, we won't be doing watch-alongs for the semi-finals, just previews for those games. But there will be watch-alongs for the finals. Both legs, depending on who that will be. Who do we think is going to make the final? I think it would be quite easy to say the winners of both groups, Thailand and Vietnam. Now, I did do in my preview, I did say that it would be Thailand top, Indonesia second in Group A, and in Group B I said it would be Vietnam top, Malaysia second. So far I'm not too far off, but I would need a Malaysia goal to be correct. My predictions, if you haven't seen the preview, by the way, you can watch that on the channel. I think I then predicted Thailand and Vietnam to both win their semi-finals. And then a Vietnam... No, I predicted a Thailand win, actually. But first, for my predictions to be even close to right, Malaysia would have to win this game. And so far, 24 minutes in, they are facing exit. But one goal will completely change this game, no matter who it goes to. I'd say the overall quality at this tournament has been pretty high. Cambodia bringing a little bit more quality than they have done in previous years. Philippines probably swapping places with them though. And in this group it's gone kind of as expected, really. Laos and Myanmar. Myanmar are quite highly ranked actually. They're higher ranked than I thought they'd be. Singapore with a free kick now, just inside the Malaysia half. Another foul from Brendan Gan. Just overly exuberant, overly ambitious to try and pinch the ball there. They'll have to try and make the most of these scenarios, Singapore. This is where they'll be their biggest threat. Playing direct. Although they've actually taken this free kick quickly and they've managed to get the ball out wide. It's an early delivery from Hafiz Noor. Drops to the back post. That's going to be a free kick this time to Malaysia. Foul on Safawi Rashid doing his defensive work. I'd say this game's now just tilted a little bit more back to even. Singapore have managed to get through the very, very high pace early pressure from Malaysia. Having said that, Malaysia come forward again, but this time it's a fair tackle. Singapore win it back. Both sides have made 5 fouls and only completed 3 tackles. So it's been a little bit stop-start this game so far. Not sure if an offside counts as a foul, by the way, when they bring up those statistics. Because it technically is. Oh, that's a good ball. Singapore, they're in a good possession now. They go for goal! That's not a bad effort, actually, from Singapore. Well, that's poor play from the back line. They just get split there. The ball was on to Amy Recker at the back post. Didn't quite find that. It's a goal kick to Malaysia. It was a decent chance though for Singapore. Good play to spot that run through the lines. Good to have you back for this one. Matt's channel. Vietnam win. Yeah, I'd say so. I think they are already 1-0 up in that one. Going for a 2-1 win to Malaysia. Let's not forget that he is in fact psychic, as he correctly predicted the Thailand game yesterday. Down to the scoreline. It was just 1 goal away in the other game as well. I think it's tough to predict the Vietnam score because often in these kind of games it kind of goes 2, 3, 4-0. In fact, Vietnam might have just gone 2-0 up from what I'm hearing in the other game. But still 0-0 here, and that is currently favouring Singapore, and that's another good bit of play from them to break the lines, and they're in down the left-hand side here. It's a 4-on-2 if they play this right. Oh, and they play it wrong. You couldn't make it up. Ruven Tiren gets there, does well defensively, and the ball's then given away. And it's Darren Lock now. And Ruven Tiren's continued his run down the left-hand side. How will they play this? Malaysia, will they have that cutting edge? Straight at the keeper, and it's a good save from Sonny. Game of the tournament so far? That's a good question. That's a really good question. I did like Malaysia-Vietnam as a game, but it was kind of random. It suddenly ended up... It was 2 red cards, that was why it was entertaining. And it was 3-0 to Vietnam. And obviously that kind of crazy penalty decision. So potentially that one. Actually, no, sorry, that's ridiculous. The game of the tournament is Cambodia's win over the Philippines, I'd say. Because that was actually just a great game as well. Approaching the 30-minute mark, and Singapore's tactical setup is working so far. As Malaysia again look to go direct, Safawi Rashid picks up the pieces as it's another free kick. He's so good at buying free kicks, isn't he? There's minimal contact there from Safawi. And he flops down to the floor like a salmon. mean, it's a foul, sure it's a foul, right? Doesn't need to make the contact, but it's so good from Safawi. Just right in front of the ref, just go down, win that free kick. It's another dangerous position. I wonder if Singapore will go with the high line. It's only a couple of times that high line can work. Trying to play the offside trap from a free kick like this. Teams can very quickly work it out, and you just set up the defensive line's here, and it's a high line. The attacking line's here. And as soon as the defensive line steps up, they all run forward, and they just run from deep. And all you've got to do as the free kick taker would be to clip that over. Doesn't look like they're going for that though. It looks like they're going for the high line again. Strangely, the Malaysia team's sat behind it. I wonder if both lineups are going to drop back. Can't be another offside here. That would be horrific. Well, he's gone for goal there, Safawi, and it's not a bad effort. He's gone for Fabio Aurelio versus Petr Cech in circa 2011. That's a guess, by the way. I have no idea when that goal was. But he does go for goal. Cristiano Ronaldo versus Almunia, you could also say as well. Always going wide, though. I think that Sonny would have saved that. He's a good quality keeper. Didn't really have the pace on it to trouble him. It's good to see we've got a fair few people watching. If you like this video and we manage to get up to 20 likes, then the goal lights will come on again with the robot. As Malaysia come forward once more with Locke. We've not seen too much of him in this game. Hands go up for the offside appeals, but it's not given. That ball's forward to Ruan Tirin, but it's well cut out by Noor in the right wing back position. Malaysia really just struggling a little to break that down, and Brendan Gans had a pop shot at goal, and that's just wide. It's not a bad effort. Probably the right call, actually. Don't think he would have been able to do anything other than lose possession there. It's a decent effort from him, that's for sure. Yeah, just wide, always going wide there. It's tough as a right footer with an effort like that to not catch it slightly on the insole. That is a sensational fact. That's one of the best facts I've ever seen in the chat. Ilias, Cristiano Ronaldo will play with a guy who went to my primary school. That is fantastic. I'm not against it, actually, that move. I think that people are making a bigger deal out of it than it needs to be. Who do I think will advance out of Egypt, Ethiopia, Malawi and Guinea? Well, it would be just so obvious, wouldn't it, to pick Guinea and Egypt, who are probably the strongest sides. But the way that group's set up, I'm really not sure. I don't think that... I tell you what, it would be amazing if Egypt don't manage to advance in AFCON quals. I think that they will. I think that they will manage to get through. But who will join them? Well, Guinea haven't impressed me all that much recently. So maybe Ethiopia. Ethiopia or Guinea, I'd say. I'm not sure that Malawi will have the quality across the and consistency across the rest of the group. Were Malawi in the last? Oh yeah, Malawi were in the last AFCON. You'd have to back Guinea though, wouldn't you, given some of the quality players that they've got, but I do think Ethiopia are probably dark horses in that group. As Singapore come forward with the ball, it's bouncing around, trying to use some of their quality, but again they've given away a free kick. It's been a little bit too easy at the minute for Malaysia to defend these scenarios. So yeah, Hafiz Noor is actually playing more of a right wing back role. So Amy Recker is up front. Ilias says, would love to see more Kickoff teams qualify for AFCON as Malaysia come forward here and win. Is that a throw or a corner? Well defended by Irfan. I think that is a corner. Yeah, it would be great to see more sides from Kickoff qualify. I think some of them are further off than others though. Just think that it would be good to see sides like Eritrea. I know there's problems in that part of the world that are not allowing the national team to play, and some issues that they've had there and had in the last Kickoff Cup, but it would be good to see sides like that get a bit further. got another corner here for Malaysia, but I can't actually see what they're going to do here. It looks like there's only 2 players in the box. They must have runners from deep. They whip the ball in. It's an outswinger. Here come the runners, but that's well cut out by the defender. And Emi Reka is just outpaced by the hard-working Faisal Halim, who scoops that back forward, and that's a good ball from him as well. And Mukhtair, sorry, Makari, not Mukhtair. Singapore again defending a little bit too casually and give the ball away. Here's Safawi. Is he going to swing a right boot at this to deliver? He will! It's a goal! And it's Darren Lock with a brilliant header. Singapore defensively poor again, giving the ball away in their own third. But it's a brilliant ball in. Hardy must be fuming looking at this, because that defensively in your own third, giving the ball away again. But what a header that is from... Oh, uh-oh. I can't get both the lights on or off at the same time. I've got a technical difficulty. I have to leave the lights on for now. Anyway, let me change the scoreboard to 1-0. It is 1-0. This game did need a goal. It's a great header though, isn't it? Angie J, great to have you in the chat. To manage to switch this goal light off if I can. The lighting's not quite right now. It's unbalanced to me. So I wonder if there's a way that I can... No, goal lights are back on. So Singapore, they now need the goal. But it's actually Malaysia who have immediately won the ball back. I'm not quite sure what Singapore are doing in their own third. They're giving the ball away far too often. We just managed to switch these lights off. No. There we are. Lighting issues aside. The goal lights got too excited. Easily done. Singapore move forward with the ball. Completely agree with Matt's channel's comment. This game did need a goal. So I feel like Singapore almost needed a goal against them to kind of wake up in this game. They've not been playing to their maximum potential at all. They need to try and push forward now, but now it's all in Malaysia's favour. Matt's channel says, what's it like in the stadium? The atmosphere is good. But why wouldn't it be? Malaysia have had 7 attempts to Singapore's 2. 3 on target, but Singapore yet to get a shot on target. Don't forget that one of those chances will be Fandy's header from the corner, which was never going near the goal. Probably wasn't even really a shot. Already you can see that Singapore are committing more players forward. It's going to be problematic for them. It's Vietnam top of the group at the minute, and it's Malaysia in second. Singapore now need a goal. Don't forget that it's just 1 goal needed for Singapore, and they will go through because a draw would be enough for them. You'd have to say 1 more goal from Malaysia will knock the stuffing completely out of Singapore, who would then need at least, well, they just need 2. There's no at least about it. It's a great header, by the way, from Darren Lock, who's back on the ball here. I think Darren Lock was expecting a free kick, not given. Play to the back post. And it just evades Faisal, who whips it towards the back post. Headed back across. Safawi getting underneath it, goes for the spectacular. Doesn't quite work out for him. Fair play, decent effort. And now Singapore can try and counter-attack. Not quite a full house. Atmosphere's decent. Certainly what I'm looking at is a pretty full house, but I know down the other side's not quite there. But the atmosphere is decent. Decent little play down the left-hand side for Singapore, but they've not quite managed to get a ball into the box yet. But there's the space, it opens up, and I tell you what, it's a good delivery. Keeper's come a long way. I think that's going to be a free kick. Well, not a free kick, but a pause in play. Will keeper there for Malaysia has come out and actually taken out. Might have been it was Hamza who came out. Might have gone through Tan or Sharul. It is good keeping, I'd say, there, but he does collide. Yeah, good, two good fists on it, but I think. Oh, it's actually Wilkin that goes down. I think it might be Wilkin. Might have to come off here. That looked like quite a bad knock to the head. Of course, you can't take any risks with stuff like this. The keeper will be fine. It'll be the keeper's kind of elbow, which is what made contact with the player. So hugely important goal just before, well, 10 minutes before the half-time break. Oh no, Wilkins back up. He looks like he's going to be okay, which is good to see. The atmosphere is looking good now. See fans jumping up and down. Incredible scenes. See, that side of the ground is packed out. Full of black and yellow. And both players will remain on the pitch for Malaysia. And the game restarts, and Malaysia just allowed to pass it out from the back. They did sort of have possession. Just one goal would be enough for Singapore. 5 minutes to go until half time. But they can't afford to force themselves forward too much, because Malaysia will pick them off on the counter-attack, and they've given the ball away again. And there's Safawi, and he plays the ball forward, kind of typical in-sole technique that he goes for, and that forces the header out, but Reventorin picks the ball back up. Malaysia still dominating kind of possession. Singapore not over-committing, which is good to see. They only need one, but they can't allow themselves to go 2-0 down. Makari whips it in. That's a big chance for Faisal Halim, winning the header. It's a good ball in from Makari, and Faisal Halim with the effort. Can't really believe what he's done there, headed it wide. I don't think it's an easy chance. Maybe should have got it on target. But he's been a bright spark for Malaysia in this tournament. Credit to him. Obviously, there's other players that would probably get in ahead of him if JDT players were available to go to this game. A few minutes to go to half-time. Malaysia are winning. But Singapore on the ball, passing around their back three. High press from Malaysia, but that press is beaten on this occasion by Singapore, who can get the ball forward. Now they've got a 2v1 down the right-hand side. And the pass is overcooked, and it's out for a Malaysia goal kick. That's poor. Looking for Noor. There's some movement on the Malaysia bench. A couple of players warming up. There might be an injury concern at the left back position for Reventorin. Probably a couple of minutes of added time you'd expect. 2 or 3 for the goal, and the injuries to Wilkin. Apparently possession's been 50-50. I'm not quite sure where that's really come from. As Malaysia swing the ball forward, and Makari is in behind. Looks for Locke. Ball squirming around, and it will break back to Locke, who heads it back in. Malaysia pushing forward, but Singapore just getting away with it on that occasion, but they're giving the ball away in their own third again. Oh, they are nervy in their own third, aren't they? Singapore, giving the ball away far too often, and the pace of Makari and Faisal Halim just causing them too many problems. Safawi just being able to drop in and orchestrate. Cheng with a throw in on the right hand side. Throws that to Makari. Gives the ball back to Cheng. Whips that in. They're quite happy to play crosses into the box despite not being the tallest side. But if you get the cross right, as we've already seen with Darren Lock's opener, that can be enough. A goal here from this set piece would be a huge gut punch. For Singapore. So it's a free kick. It's a corner kick. Looks like Safawi is going to take this, which would be an out swinger. No, Makari comes across, but it is positioned better for a left footer, where it's positioned in the quadrant. And again, the referee just telling the players to watch it. It is the outswinger from Safawi. It's a decent ball in. No, just slightly overcooked. And Haris Haroun gets it away, but Malaysia pick up the second ball. And here's Faisal Halim, sweeps the ball forward all the way through to Sunny. So not long to go at the end of this first half. One minute to go until the end of the first half. Most people on the poll backing Malaysia, and you'd still have to back them at this point. Hardy says Lions sleeping first half, so lazy to get a shot. It's half-time in the other game. It's 2-0 to Vietnam. So, as we said before, that makes no real difference to this one. We're into the last few seconds of this half. The only thing, Hardy, that you won't be too concerned about is the fact that it's only 1-0. So there is still half a chance for Singapore. And that is the half-time whistle just before the 2 minutes of added time are up. And we are now at 45 minutes. We are at the halfway stage in this game. Thank you everyone for watching up until this point. As we always do, we'll take an extremely short break and then be back for halftime thoughts and the second half. Hello there, so we're back ahead of the second half. We're up to 12 likes, so don't forget we're only 8 away from goal lights, which I've now fixed, so they should be back working. We did only see one goal in that first half, but what a great goal it was from Malaysia. The ball in from Safawi, we saw some Safawi magic, and the header from Darren Lock, which was a good header. That will hopefully kickstart this game ready for a second half where we need to see improvement from Singapore if they're going to stand any chance of getting through in this game. It's been a tough one for them so far. They've been a little bit poor on the ball defensively in their own half, but also not really packed a punch on the counter-attack properly as well. They need to shape up a little bit, if we're honest, don't they? Yeah, ahead of this one. But they do have options from the bench. They can change the system at any time. They've just been outplayed and outclassed slightly at the moment by a Malaysia side that looks really up for it at home. Stadium packed out. Does look like it has filled out more. Atmosphere tremendous in that first half. Great stadium, isn't it? And I will say to people watching, thank you so much, as always. I don't normally like to do this on live videos, but I've just seen we are 7 subscribers away from 2,700, which isn't a massive milestone by any means, but it is a cool number, and it does make a huge difference. In fact, we're 6 away as I'm speaking now. Just refreshed, we're 6 away from 2,700, and every person that subs we do really appreciate. It's not about the numbers in terms of how many people. It's about making sure that we do videos that our subscribers enjoy. But a metric that we can go off if we're doing the right kind of things is that people are subscribing because they want to see more content from us, which is great. So thank you to everyone that's watched so far. And we hope that you continue to watch in 2023. And if anyone could subscribe that is watching so we can get to 2,700 by the end of this video, wouldn't that be great? Like I say, we're 6 away. So if you haven't already, and you want to, then click that subscribe button. Because also, the more subs we get, the cooler stuff we can do. This will be the last live stream with this setup, actually. So for the final, for the live stream for the final, and indeed for the previews of the semi-final, there will be a slightly different setup here at DNQ HQ, as we look to do more interesting stuff for you in 2023, keep improving. So I think, looking at the poll, 125 votes in, most people now backing Malaysia. 10% backing the draw, still possible. 21% backing a Singapore win. I understand, Singapore fans, you've got to do it. Looking slightly less likely now, unless they can come up with some magic for the second half. I think the more that Singapore attack, the more Malaysia will fancy themselves on the counter-attack. That's the downside to starting a little bit more defensively, though I do agree there's probably not much of another option. Maybe there was the play for Singapore to try and start really fast out the traps and get a goal, because then that would have really been tough for Malaysia. They would have needed 2 to progress. Currently, of course, Singapore do only need 1, but they run the risk of allowing a second for Malaysia, and if Malaysia go 2-0 up, this contest could really be over. But get your comments in how you think this game is going to go in the second half. Do you think that Singapore will change system? Do you think Malaysia will make any changes at the halfway stage? They of course have players like Lee Tuck and Sergio Aguero that have come off the bench and played a part in this tournament so far. Do we think that they will come on? How do we see this one going? I think it will be tough for Singapore, given the home advantage, the fact that Malaysia have probably got a slightly better team man for man in this one. But can the Lions, who Hardy said slept in that first half, wake up and bite back? Should be just a few moments away from kickoff for this second half. Thank you everyone for watching along, sticking with us. It's always amazing at the end of these streams that we do when we see the total watch time, which is crazy because we have lots and lots of people watching for a long period of time, and we really appreciate you. And as always, you know, I know that the chat has been a lot around this game and a lot around predictions and the atmosphere in the stadium and stuff like that. But as we did yesterday, don't be afraid to put in your thoughts on what DNQ can bring in 2023, what you want to see. It looks like Morocco will miss the Chan in Algeria. I haven't seen about this. Why is this? Ilias, do tell us more. Looking forward to seeing them at that. Still looking forward to that tournament as a whole. See lots of people watching the actual game on YouTube, lots of people saying that they think that Singapore are going to lose this one. Not so sure that it's a foregone conclusion yet, as we wait for the second half to begin. It is currently 2-0 in the other match to Vietnam, favourites probably to win this tournament, and they're certainly looking like they're going to go through at the moment. And go through top. Quite frustratingly, I clicked off of the game and then clicked back onto it, and now I'm having to watch an ad, which is slowing everything down. But it looks like the players are just emerging for the second half. Man of the match so far in this one. It's tough to say actually who the man of the match would be so far in this one. I would probably have to say Ruven Tiran, perhaps, the left back / left wing back for Malaysia. I think that he's been particularly good. It'd be interesting to see if he comes out for the second half, though. There was talk of him potentially picking up an injury. Makari and Faisal Halim have also played well, but I suppose you'd have to give it to the goal scorer Darren Lock, who really was excellent how he took that goal. Ilias, political reasons between the countries Algeria and Morocco don't get along. Fair enough. It's a shame that Morocco won't get to participate at the Chan. Return back to action here as the players emerge from the tunnel for the start of the second half. Looking at the players, can't see any changes at the moment. It'll be interesting to see if there's any tactical tweaks that they make ahead of this one. As I said, just as we came back for the start of the second half, we are just 6. Let me check if it's still 6. 5. We are 5 subscribers away from 2,700. So wouldn't it be great if we could reach that now? There is a substitution for Singapore. Shawal has come on. Just need to double check who he has come on for. Reminder for you that as things stand, Vietnam topping the group. No massive surprises there. Currently, with the Malaysia win, they are going through in second place ahead of Singapore, who would be going out on 7 points, which seems harsh. Despite the fact that they managed to get a draw against Vietnam, so far they're losing in this one. So Shawal has come on. Not 100% sure yet. Has come off. Ryan, how accurate was your tournament preview so far? So far it's bang on. So far it is bang on. I did say that it would be Thailand, Indonesia. And I did say that it would be Vietnam, Malaysia. So far, it's bang on. We're up to 14 likes on the video, which is great to see. Thank you very much. If we get to 20, then the goal lights do come back. It would be great to hit that. Be great to have more people in the chat as well. Do say hi, give your predictions for the second half. Don't forget to vote in the poll either. 141 votes so far. It's great to have so many of you watching along with us as Singapore get the second half underway. Looks like it's still the same system at the minute. Shawwal has come on in an attacking position. He's come on. Oh, let me double check as that ball goes out for a goal kick. What do we need to see from Singapore in this second half is the commentary on the other game. Well, I think it's quite clear that what we need to see is a slight tweak in system. They need to be slightly better on the ball in their own third as well. They've given the ball away far too many times. That really kind of led to the goal and has led to the majority of the big chances for Malaysia in that first half. It wasn't too many times Malaysia really did break down from back to front. We're going to see Singapore attack more in this game. I think we know that, but it's whether or not they can actually get that all-important goal as that ball trickles out and is a Malaysia throw in their own third. Minnow Nation to look out for in 2023. God, that's a challenging question to answer actually. There's so many tournaments going on this year, which is excellent. But it's tough to pick. Don't think there's that many teams from Oceania. I think it depends a little bit if you would say the Asian Cup is going to take place this year, but it probably won't, unfortunately. If it did, I'd say that a side like Indonesia always one to watch out for. I think Indonesia are still in a decent position in this tournament actually to potentially, don't forget they only come second in their group on goal difference. I think they could still try their best, the Garuda, to win this tournament, but they are going to have Vietnam in the semi-finals, which is going to be tough. Just trying to think ahead about all the other tournaments going on. I have Euro qualification, CONCACAF Nations League, and also the CONCACAF Gold Cup as well, so potentially one of the sides from CONCACAF Nations League B will be a side to watch out for as well in the Gold Cup. Ball all the way back now with Sonny in the Singapore goal. He's put under some pressure but manages to clip that away. But it goes straight back to Malaysia. Throw in now to Singapore, who switched the play early. And that ball's nicked past Ruben Tiram, but Dominic Tan does well, covering his other defender, gets him out of trouble. No, Ilias, I've had a look. Not sure when the Asian Cup draw is. They've not actually determined when the tournament's going to be yet. Obviously, it's now going to be in Qatar instead of being in China as it was originally. But there's not a date yet confirmed for the draw for the AFC Asian Cup. We will bring you that on DNQ as and when it happens. We're up to 16 likes, just 4 likes away from goal lights. Great to have so many of you watching along with us. Thank you for joining. And we're just 4 subs away from 2,700 now, so really appreciate each and every one of you who has subscribed to the channel. I haven't started the thing for the second half, look. Ball back with Singapore in their own half, but Malaysia pick up the loose bits. Here is Locke. What can he do here? Whips it in. It's not a bad effort. But now here comes Charles Sulaiman, and Singapore push forward here. That's a good pass as well. Shot goal there from a long way out, never really going to cause any problems, and Singapore commit a few men forward there. Ooh, and that's a poor miscontrol. And now Faisal can push forward, gets the ball in, looking for Safawi. Just misplays it slightly. Not great play from Malaysia on the counter-attack there. Interestingly, I think the only tactical change so far is that Malaysia are quite happy for Singapore to have a little bit more of the ball and play on the counter-attack themselves. And actually, it looks like a slight change to the front three, potentially, Darren Lock looks like he's positioned more down to the left-hand side. Ravintaram whips the ball in. Hardy says game over. He might be slightly ahead of me. The ball's hooked away. They have given the ball away, and it is 2-0. And Wilkin gets the goal. And Singapore, another mistake at the back, you'd have to say, for Singapore. The crowd goes wild for that one. But it is game over now, you'd have to say. It's a really good finish from Wilkin, who just nicks the ball off of the attacker and blasts it. Could the keeper have done more? He's a keeper that I do like. But this comes from a long way out. It is skidding along the ground though, to be fair. Let's look at it from this angle. It just dips at the last minute. Goes underneath the keeper. Goes through a crowd of bodies. And as Hardy says, realistically, that is probably now game over in this one. 72% of you on the votes said Malaysia to win, and they are now 2-0 up, which means that they have a 2-goal advantage to go through. Singapore would have to at least they'd have to level this. They need 2 goals now. And just the other side of half-time, 50 minutes in, it's probably game over, and probably for Singapore, tournament over as well. Unless they can whip out some magic. Stuart Wilkin it was with the second goal. Interestingly, it looks like a fair few people have tuned out of this live stream as soon as that second goal went in. Tough time to concede. Indeed. 50 minutes in. Bit of a gut punch. They'll need to score probably before 60, but they can't allow themselves to concede again. That looks like a foul. Irfan there. Yeah, I think that is a foul. Locke just nicked the ball away from him. I think that was a foul. Personally, I do think that was a foul. And Irfan goes into the book. I'm not convinced that Singapore have looked like scoring yet, but I would have to agree with Ryan's comments. No, that is a foul. That is a foul. Don't think it's a yellow card, but it was a foul. Have they looked like scoring? No, but you know, one goal and it does completely change the tide here. Singapore can't allow a third though, and I do think you'd have to favour Malaysia. The more that Singapore push forward, that counter-attack with the pace that they've got, you'd have to say Hardy must be disappointed. It's tough with the players they've had out injured, the players not able to play in this tournament, but really they have been below par if you look at what they managed to do last year in the delayed 2020 Suzuki Cup. They've not been as good in this tournament. It looks like they're going out on 7 points at the minute. Malaysia switch the ball. They have the ball back again down the right hand side. They've looked good down both wings, to be fair. Singapore, despite having a back five, have not stopped a single cross really from getting into the box. That one a wayward cross, and it will be a Singapore goal kick. The only chances that Singapore created were actually at 0-0, weren't they? They've not really done anything since going behind. They've tried to push forward more, but they've just lacked a little bit. And they're playing short now. And it's indecision at the back that's cost them, really. And they lose it in their own third again. I mean, what are they doing back there? It's a chance for Malaysia. It's a good turn. It's 3-0. 3-0. And it's Wilkin with another goal. It's a great turn. But Singapore, the architects of their own downfall here. What is Singapore doing on the ball? So poor from them. So poor. It's a brilliant finish. It's a brilliant finish. The play is good. But it does make it easier from a Malaysia perspective when Singapore keep giving them the ball in their final third. It's a good poke through. It's good play from the linesman. Doesn't put the flag up. Is it Safawi then who sets it back? It looks like it is. It's a good turn and a good finish from Wilkin. Wrong foot's the goalkeeper. But what is Singapore doing? Architects of their own downfall. Everything went the same way as 2018. It's a good finish. Hardy, admitting defeat already, you've got to say, I can't disagree with you. I just don't. There's just no way Singapore get 3 goals back here. What have they been doing, though? What have they been doing? I mean, the manager can set them up all he likes. Tactical discipline, playing sort of direct, playing counter-attack. They've given Malaysia at least 2 goals in this one. At least 2 goals. With the fact that they've given the ball away in their final third. Against a side, they're trying to play out against a side with a high press. They've given the ball away again. And it's a 3v3 again. And Safawi Rashid has got time. He plays that behind to the willing runner Faisal, who isn't going to get there on this occasion, but Singapore are playing so poor in this game. Again, no disrespect intended. But listen, Malaysia have got the luxury of substitutes they can bring on. They can switch the setup as much as they like. This is game over, tie over, I'd have to say. 3-0 down, 55 minutes in. Horror start to the second half, as Ryan rightly said. Could get even worse for them now because it's Malaysia who come forward again. And it's a free kick to them. Looked a little bit harsh. 3-0 is a harsh scoreline, by the way. If you were to look at like XG, the expected goals statistic, it's probably like 1 and a bit for Malaysia. They've not even had that many clear-cut chances. But they've been clinical. And they put Singapore to bed. Now, Malaysia, luxury of substitutes. And a chance to whip it in and try and make it 4-0. No, I completely agree with Hardy's comment. Just watch this free kick come in. Safawi, keeper punches that away. And Singapore clear. I completely agree, Hardy. For a team who only needed a draw, I don't know what went wrong. And 1-0 down at half-time as well. It was not like it was game over. Not like it was tied down at that point. All you've got to do at that point is just not concede. And even if you keep it till 80 minutes and you're 1-0 down, you've still got a chance. They've allowed themselves to go 3-0 down before 60 minutes. Which is crazy. The first Stu Wilkin goal, keeper maybe could have done better. The second, defensive error. The first goal that was scored, defensive error. Safawi Rashid looks like he's just got a little bit of maybe a muscle tightness in his leg, so he'll probably come off. I'd be substituting off Faisal as well because he does so much running from a Malaysia perspective and they'll need him in the semi-final. It's decent play, first real bit of good interplay from Singapore, but looks like they're not going to be able to make anything of it. And Makari hooks it away, straight up in the air more than anywhere else. But they win the second ball as well. And here comes the counter-attack. And that willing runner at the far post is Faisal. That pass from Safawi, not quite right, but Faisal will still get there and keep it in on the left-hand side. And that left-hand side works so well as Ruven Tiram pushes forward. He's looking for a free kick. He's not going to get one. I think he went down all too easy. And Singapore, they lose the ball in their own third again. And here's Locke, standing up his man, Faisal Halim, weaving inside. But the offside flag does go up. Giving the ball away in their own third so many times. Here comes a double substitution. Sergio Aguero and Lee Tuck coming on for Darren Locke. The first substitution, Tuck for Locke. Locke's played pretty well, not had to do a huge amount. Took his goal extremely well. Other than that, it's not had too much involvement really. Interesting to see what Lee Tuck can bring off of the bench. And if he will assume the position of centre forward or if he'll drop back into attacking midfield and they'll rotate things. Depends on their second sub, I imagine. And it's Sergio Aguero that's coming on for Safawi Rashid. So Safawi will make way. Sergio Aguero, who may also assume that centre forward position. So there'll probably be a few changes to the front four. Maybe Makari will go out to the right. Lee Tuck might drop in and Aguero up front. Not sure how they'll play it. It's also going to be a double substitution for Singapore. Faris Romley has just come on. There's confusion about the substitution actually. Who's coming off? I think it's Arfin and Faris Romley that are coming on. Zufami Arfin. Not sure who's coming off currently for Singapore. So a break in play, and that allows us to talk about what's gone wrong here for Singapore. And I think it's their own mistakes that they've made in their own defensive position more than anything. Far too many times they've given the ball away in their final third. Faris Romley's a good player. Not sure why he's not been playing a bit more. Maybe Hardy or someone in the chat could let me know why that is. So it's Song that's coming off for Faris. Maybe it's a system thing. And also Shakir Hamza coming off for Zufami Arfin, number 23. So it looks like Anu's just dropped back in and they've gone with just still that back three. Thought there might be a system change then, but it's not to be. As Singapore again struggle to not concede possession in their own half. Yeah, it looks like Anu has just dropped in. Decent bit of play that time from Singapore, but again the final pass just slightly overcooked. And Malaysia can just take their time whenever they're on the ball now. Over 5,000 views in this video, which is great to have. Thank you everyone who's watched at various different points throughout this video, and thanks for all the likes, the comments, the engagement, subs, etc. Really appreciate it. Singapore with the ball in their own half. Singapore just haven't done enough to make this a competitive game, have they? Conceding the ball far too many times in their own half. Can there be some magic off of the bench? We'll see, but I think it's a stretch. As the offside flag goes up and it's a free kick to Malaysia. So I won't deny there's less to play for in this game now. It's 3-0. It's pretty much game over, you'd have to say, but potentially we'll see more goals in this one. So do stick with us if you can. Thank you to everyone who's watched so far. Will there be Sergio Aguero? Well, there won't be an Aguero moment. There could be in the semi-finals. And currently, based on the Vietnam scoreline, in fact, it doesn't have a huge amount to do. Oh, here's a half a chance. Ball all the way across. And out for a goal kick to Singapore. Malaysia will get to the semi-finals where they will face up against Thailand and Vietnam, Indonesia. So it's kind of as predicted, really. Thank you very much, Hardy, for sticking, even though there's nothing to watch. We'll try and pick out some positives for Singapore. I suppose the draw against Vietnam is a positive. It just looks flat. Maybe the schedule in the away games. Here's half a chance. Singapore getting behind. Faris Romley it is, who delivers into the box. Slightly overcooked. It's gone all the way to the back post. And back across. Puts out for a goal kick. Thought that might have gone for a corner. So Malaysia here really. In fact, I'm going to end the poll actually. We've had 170 votes. I think if anyone comes in now and votes for Malaysia, I think that would be unfair on them to get that right. It is 3-0 to the home side. So a lot of, before the game, it was pretty even on who people thought was going to go through. It's got more and more convincing for Malaysia. And Faisal down here with a slight injury. Maybe just a little bit of time wasting. But they're not going to take any chances, and it looks like they're going to make a substitution. And Hoi Kim Normally, Malaysia's the kryptonite to Thailand, but I'm not sure if they can still do it without the JDT players. Well, I think that's going to be the challenge, isn't it? Fair play to them for reaching the semi-final stage without some of their players that they would normally have playing. But it's going to be tough because I'd say Thailand are in just brilliant form. They do have defensive weaknesses, though. I think that Malaysia should go into that game without fear. I think that both Indonesia and Malaysia, the underdogs for the semi-finals, should go into those games without fear. Because both... Oh, here's half a chance. Malaysia. Sergio Aguero. Lee Tuck. Wait for the overlapping run. Doesn't quite get it, but Malaysia do keep the ball and they're going to recycle possession here. Oh, and Sharrell almost gives the ball away but gets away with it. That's going to come to nothing as the ball trickles through to the Singapore goalkeeper. So yeah, nothing doing really for Singapore in this game. But they need to avoid embarrassment really. And it would be embarrassment if this did turn to 4 or 5. They've just been so poor on the ball. And again, Ruven Tiram keeps it in. You've got to say he's played well, and it looks like it's going to kick off. Amy Reka going toe-to-toe with Ruven Tiram there. I think you'd have to say that the left-back / left wing-back has had the better of him so far in this game. I'm not quite sure what he's giving here. That's an unnecessary challenge, in truth, from Reka. Doesn't need to put that challenge in. It's probably just a little bit of frustration with the overall game. Unnecessary challenge there from Reka. As we see 2 more substitutions for Malaysia. They can rotate as much as they want now. Handshake between the 2 players. Well refereed that. Says cut it out. Nothing again. Good refereeing. They've not had too many big decisions to make in this game. So what are the substitutions then? Is that Dominic Tan? Number 6. Fazli's going to come on for Dominic Tan. Who's played well? Not had too much to do though. I'm saying Malaysia players are playing well. The defenders have had nothing to do really. Singapore have been really flat. Cambodia put up more of a fight against Thailand, you'd have to say that, than Singapore have in this game against Malaysia. And also Faisal Halim coming off for Hakimi Azim. It's been a good game for Malaysia, this one. Comfortable really. It's kind of crazy that Faisal, despite all of his running, didn't get a goal or an assist in this game. Pretty sure I got that right. Oh, there's a chance here. Lee Tuck picks up possession. The overlapping option is on. They play it across, and there was a chance of another goal then, and it's a corner. Fresh legs, they've made lots of changes up front. They'll still look to hit on the counter-attack. Singapore continue to make a few errors at the back. Could have gone for goal actually. The Malaysia forward. It was Chen actually on the overlap. God, he's had, I tell you what, the 2 fullbacks got engines like you wouldn't believe. Outswinging corner, immediately kicked out there by Lee Tuck. And a huge amount of turf has come up with that as well. Looks like he's just kicked the ground there and accidentally kicked it out straight for a goal kick. So a little bit of a wasted corner kick routine there. Oh, he actually, well, there's a multitude of things. He just slips before he's about to take it. And then the ball kicks up off the dirt. I think that when we talk about naturalising players, I think that... Oh, Singapore come forward here. Here's half a chance. What can they create? It's a decent ball. No, it's not a great ball. It just trickles out. Malaysia seem to be doing fine with this method. Well, Malaysia are doing pretty well, and it, you know, you've got to say they have got a few naturalised players. And it does work well. I think it's a bit of a solution for right now, but it's not a solution for the future. You look at the Fandis, for example, and some of the young Singapore talent. They do have scope for the future, and maybe that will pay dividend in sort of 2024, 2025, more so than some of the players that have been naturalised. You know, Sergio Aguero will be 28, 29 by the time of the next tournament. Lee Tuck as well will be older. Naturalising players definitely a solution for the right now, but as we've seen with the Philippines, it's not a long-standing solution. So there needs to be a combination. I think that you do need to look at the players that you can get into playing the domestic leagues and naturalise, whether or not they actually are better than some of the youth talent that you can bring through. If you think about how long it takes to naturalise a player, not sure what the rules are for this region, versus how long it would take to really invest in grassroots football. If you look sort of 4 years in the future, then someone who's 12, 13 now can be breaking into the national team in 4 years' time. It's just the commitment that you have to make, whereas naturalising players is definitely the solution for right now for some of these teams. It's tough. You need the right investment at all levels. I'm far more of a grassroots believer, but if you want immediate success and you've not got that crop of young talent coming through, who has scored the screamer in the Vietnam match? Is it Vietnam? Please tell me it was from a Myanmar player, because that would be phenomenal. Make that an interesting game there. Ball swept into the box by Malaysia, nothing doing. Foot slightly off the gas. Yes, it is 3-0. 3-0 to Vietnam. So Vietnam will top this group. I will have to watch that back on Twitter. And if you don't follow us on Twitter, don't forget that you can do at DNQ Football. We tweet quite regularly, actually. It's a social media that we're quite active on. Singapore trying to push forward more. Malaysia quite comfortable, sitting back. And the ball's given away again. And Lee Tuck is in behind here. Probably not going to get... Oh, he might get... No, he's not going to get to that. I think he does. And it goes out for the Singapore throw. Got to respect him for that. Probably unnecessary. Didn't even go for a throw. They managed to keep it in. So confirmation that as it stands, and realistically as it will be, Vietnam topping Group B, and will play Indonesia. And Malaysia second will play Thailand. Good semi-finals that. Good semi-finals. Wonder who will reach the final. So free kick's been given here. Just outside the box to Singapore. Here's half a chance. Too early, you'd say. Too late, sorry, you'd say, for Singapore to mount a serious comeback. But a goal or two would give some sort of credibility back. Stuart Wilkin, is he naturalised as well, or is he part Malaysian? There's a chance here for Singapore if they get this right. Goal lights at the ready. I'd go for goal here, to be honest. Left-footed. It will be the lefty, and he has gone for goal, but it's all too easy. for the Malaysia goalkeeper. Well, we've seen plenty of goals, haven't we, in this tournament? It's quite funny seeing the comments that come through. People actually watching the game. Why is Malaysia team all European? Singapore versus Europe. Is that really the first shot? I suppose it must be the first shot on target. Yeah. It came kind of out of nothing, didn't it, really? Just that free kick. Given it probably was a foul. They've just not done enough going forward, have they? I feel like they've barely touched the ball, Singapore. Apparently possession's been close to 50-50, but for me, it's just more about what you do on the ball. It's far too easy, isn't it, for Malaysia? I don't think they're really breaking too much of a sweat. And it is a lull. It's a lull in the game. Well, we're trying to make it entertaining here because the actual game, like you say, has drifted now. It has drifted. We'll talk about other stuff if you like. Feel free to say whatever you want in the chat. It doesn't have to be to do with the game. This is going to be a 3-0, maybe a 3-1, maybe even a 4-0. But Malaysia are going to cruise through along with Vietnam. Singapore definitely not done enough in this one. But feel free to ask any questions you might have. It is going to be a dead ending here indeed. Why have Singapore fallen away so far? Well, I think you have to say there's an element of don't forget there's 3 Fandies. Is there 3 or 4? Definitely 3 that would be in and around, and only 1 has been available for the whole tournament. Iksan and Gabriel Kwok normally starting for Singapore as part of that front 3. That does make a big difference. They've just lacked that up front, I think. And here they do have half a chance though. It's just nicked away by Brendan Gann. And I think a little bit, I don't know, maybe, can't blame Malaysia players, they want to avoid injuries, etc. Yeah, absolutely. And Rowley is about to come on for Malaysia. There is another substitution. Hafiz Noor has just come off for Nazari. So a last throw of the dice from Singapore. And who's going to come off here for Rowley? Sharul is going to come off. So the last substitution. Top 3 TV programmes of 2022 in your opinion? And the 3 that you're looking forward to in 2023? Now that's a good question, Ryan. Well, I've recently watched The Traitors on BBC, which I enjoyed very much. It was very good. That counts as 2020. Came out in 2022, end of 2022, but still. I'd have to say the World Cup. That's got to count as a TV programme because throughout November, December, that was on all the time. I watched most of the games. And I'd probably say that what are Singapore doing? They've given the ball away again in their own third. This time Fandy gets there before Tuck and they cut it out. Probably the last one would be either Taskmaster or Strictly. I'm a bit of a Strictly fan, so potentially Strictly. But what programmes am I looking forward to in 2023? That's a difficult one. I've watched Strictly consistently for a few years now, so I'm wondering if I am going to stick with it next year. The ball's been given away again. Aguero should have done better there. What are Singapore doing? They've given the ball straight to Sergio Aguero through on goal. I don't know what he should just kick it in. The keeper literally passes it straight to Sergio Aguero. It's like a video game. But I'm not sure what song of 2022 has to be Dreamers from the World Cup soundtrack. Maybe, I don't know, there's been so many bangers in 2022 that I do feel like, as much as I kind of hate it, the TikTok generation and all the music that comes out of that, the popularised music comes out from that, there's been some banging songs. I think definitely that is a tune. Lee Tuck whips this in. All the way across, keeper punches out. We'll go for a throw to Malaysia on the other side. And Hardy's going to look forward to Singapore's Premier League campaign. When does the season start in Singapore? Is it a league that runs from sort of February through to November? Or is it, how does it start? When does it start? Because I know a lot of Asian leagues start at different times. The Qatar Airways World Cup. I love every World Cup song, really. I didn't completely love the Jason Derulo Coca-Cola one. Was that for the Russia World Cup 2018? Colours. That wasn't an amazing. I still enjoy it, but as far as World Cup soundtracks go, that wasn't up there. So it's a shame we didn't get a World Cup game, because I feel like from the Middle East there'd have been some absolute bangers in on that soundtrack. Yeah, Jason Derulo's Colours was. You're comparing it to stuff like Waving Flag and Singapore caught napping again, and it's a last-ditch challenge and a good one, and a long-range efforts. It's not going to come to anything. I think I know what song you're talking about with Time of Our Lives. I think that I know what song you're talking about, and I think I did like it. Singapore come forward. Not a lot happening. I can't play the song because then we'll get a copyright strike, but I'm pretty sure I know what song you're talking about. 2010 was peak though, wasn't it, for World Cup songs? Looks like Sergio Aguero's gone down injured here. Just looking at that again. Not sure what that injury will be. Doesn't look like it will be an impact injury. It looked like a fine challenge. Hardy, my own club won the Singapore Cup a few months back. First in their history. That's incredible. That's fantastic. And the Match Channel going, 1998 surely was the peak. I don't know, that World Cup in South Africa was pretty sensational. Where was the World Cup in 98? Was it Mexico? No, Mexico 86. Can't remember where it was in 1998. France 98. It was. France won though, didn't they, in 1998? Is that the France-Brazil final 98? Looks like we're going to drift away probably to a 3-0 defeat here as Singapore put pressure on the Malaysia goalkeeper. They've been so poor, Singapore have been so poor. They give the ball away again. Tuck plays it across. And they've given it straight back to Tuck. What are they playing at? Giving the ball away in their own third so many times. Tuck whips it in. Headed just wide by Hakimi. Decent header actually. To be fair, Match Channel, you are coming in with some bangers there. 3 Lions, Vindaloo. Those are classics. Lots of players forward for Singapore as we go into the last few minutes. 84 on the clock. Doesn't look like a huge amount's going to happen here. So again, I'll just say thank you very much to everyone who's watched throughout this stream. If you don't already, then hit that subscribe button. We are still 4 away from that 2,700 subs, which would be brilliant to hit at some point across the next couple of days throughout this tournament. We thank everyone who's watched our stuff. And we gear up for the 2 semi-finals, and we will be doing previews for that, and brilliant scenes in the Malaysia game as the fans hold up their phones and shine a light onto the pitch. Stunning scenes that are packed out back at Jalil. Oh, there is a consolation goal. Don't worry, we'll get the goal lights ready. Hardy's just ahead of us. It's a good ball over the top, played across. And there is the goal. They've pulled one back. And it's Faris Romley who's come off the bench and got the goal for Singapore. You'll forgive me if I'm not ecstatic in terms of my celebrations, because it is probably just a consolation goal. If they get one in the next couple of minutes, then maybe I'll be dancing around. It's a decent, well-taken goal, though, to be fair to them. They can't do any more than that. That's what they've been lacking all game. And it's a ball in behind Ruven Tiram, who I said earlier has been one of the best players. You can make a Singapore joke. I'm not going to make a Singapore joke, but you can make a Singapore joke if you'd like. Is it game on? Please, wouldn't it be incredible if they did score another in the next couple of minutes here? Faris Romley, why didn't he start? Your favourite World Cup was 2018. That's rogue. Here come Singapore again. Swinging at goal, Amy Recker, and they've won the corner. Is there half a chance here? No. There's no way that Singapore are going to get back in this. No, nice. I like that. I like that. That's a nice joke. That's not too offensive to anyone. It's a corner to Singapore, and there's half a chance here. They're probably a bigger side. Goal lights and mad celebrations if we do get another goal here and we get a grandstand finish. Ball whipped in. Free kick against Singapore. Who predicted 3-1? Did anyone predict 3-1? Oh! Currently we do have a winner for prediction. And it's Ilyas at the moment. Just seeing if anyone else predicted that. Well, currently, it's Ilyas who's on the money with his prediction, with just a few minutes to go. Oh, Kim's put in the chat, Aguero. Am I behind? I must be slightly behind. Does Malaysia come on the counter-attack? Is there an Aguero moment here? Hakimi. Oh, they've got to score here. They've got a man over. Tuck gets the ball, plays it through. Aguero! And it is 4-1. Yeah. I mean, it's a good finish, but you've got to... Your prediction was so close, Ilyas. You were just moments away, but unfortunately, we have to unpin your message because you didn't quite get it right. It's a good finish, I must say, from Aguero. It is a good finish. Singapore all at sea. I might have to pin Hardy's comment, which is just the face palm. It's a good finish. Nothing the keeper can do about that one. 4-1. Yeah, spoilies, chat. Come on, chat. No spoilies. I must be behind. Incredibly, I think I'm behind, and that must just be the YouTube stream of the game is slightly behind. No spoilies. As we go into the final stages, and Aguero gets the goal on 88 to make this 4-1 to Malaysia. They have all the bragging rights in this derby game, don't they, at the moment? Singapore come forward again. You'd have to say they didn't have a chance to get back into the game. They had half a chance to get back into the game when they scored with Faris Romley, but kind of immediately chucked it away, really. There's probably no point in there being any added time. It's just wasted effort for the Malaysians. My man of the match would be Stuart Wilkin for this one, with his 2 goals really being the final few nails in the coffin for Singapore. There is 4 minutes of added time. Actually, probably say it's more likely to be 5-1 than it is 4-2. Faris Romilly concedes the foul. Thank you to everyone who's watched along in this game as we go into the final few minutes of added time. It is great to have you with us here on DNQ Football. Consider subscribing to the channel as we close in on 2,700. I think that Singapore, I'd have to say, have been their own worst enemy in this game, particularly in the second half. They've given Malaysia the goals, really. Alright, the last one to make it 4-1, that's just counter-attack. You'd have to say it's not a huge amount you can do about that. That can happen. But generally, goals 2 and 3 were just given to Malaysia. Good finishes, good efforts at goal from Wilkin, but they were just given to Malaysia. And that's been Singapore's main problem. They've been their own worst enemies in this one. They did get that consolation goal and also made it a respectable scoreline with 3-1, but then conceding that 4th on the counter-attack as well. Can they get another just before the end of this game? They look long, but that's going to go out for a goal kick. It does. They weren't great against Laos despite winning Singapore. They played better and fought hard against Vietnam. Got the draw there to put themselves in the commanding position. But it is going to be one step too far for Singapore to think that they can get out of the group this time. Last few moments here. Malaysia indeed will play Thailand. Will be tough for them. A tougher game than this one's been. I'm sure that they are up for the challenge. They're feeling optimistic. Again, just miscommunication from Singapore there. Malaysia come forward once more with Lee Tuck. Keeps pushing against Hardis. Gets down the line well. And delivers, but the keeper can catch that easily. I would agree, actually, with Hardy's comment. Man of the match for Singapore being Irfan Fandi. I completely agree. I think he's the only player that seemed to really care, seemed to really want this game. He defended well at times as well. He didn't make too many individual mistakes. Everyone else, they didn't really seem to bother that much. And they do go home empty-handed. There's some great semi-final matchups. Ryan's absolutely right. And of course, on DNQ, we will bring you previews for both of those matches. So far, it is in line with what I predicted. Just saying. If you watch our predictions so far, I'm bang on the money. I said that this group would come down to this game, and I said I think Malaysia would have the upper hand. They have done. That's partly down to a poor performance from Singapore as we get ready for full time, which is just a moment away. And it is indeed a huge win for Malaysia. The 94 minutes are up. Malaysia have been the better side today. Singapore extremely poor. Hardy, thank you for being with us. I know it must have been a tough watch. He says, congratulations, Malaysia. What else can you say? From a Singapore point of view, the game seems to be kicking off a little bit post-match. But it is Malaysia that come out on top in the Causeway Derby. Matt's channel says Singapore. And that Singapore joke, again, not too harsh and very accurately reflects how this game went. A poor performance from the away side, all too easy for Singapore. All too easy, for Malaysia against Singapore. and they will play Thailand in the semi-final. Just going to confirm the score in the other game if I can. As an ad plays, well, an ad's played, so I'm not going to bother with that. Believe that it is 3-0 to Vietnam. Thank you very much everyone who's watched for this one. Really appreciate it. We'll be back with previews for the semi-final, not streams for those, but then streams back for the final as well. That's all from us on DNQ, and we'll see you next time.